Okay, guys, I did it. All right, I have all 6 of the YSL Y fragrances, all the flankers. I have them all in my collection. The last time I talked about these fragrances, I talked about designer fragrances and how I was kind of disgruntled about the fact that all designer brands seem to be coming out with flanker after flanker. If you did not see that video, I'll make sure I link it. But I wanted to go ahead and get the other 2 that I was missing from the YSL Y line, which is the new YSL Y EDP Intense, hard to remember the names, and YSL Y Live. I was missing that one. And I'm going to tell you guys which of these 6 fragrances that I feel like is worth you adding to your collection. Okay? I'm going to save you the time. So, this gets kind of confusing, but let's talk about it. What's going on, guys? I'm Darren, the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. We talk about fragrance on this channel. We throw some fashion tips in there as well because I want to make sure as best I can that I contribute to you guys going out there in the world every day, man, and looking and smelling your best. Both of those things are important. Trust me. So if you're into those things, fashion, fragrance, looking good, smelling good, found the right channel. I hope you won't mind subscribing to this channel and make sure you hit that bell icon as well to ensure anytime I upload new content on YouTube, you'll get notified. So guys, you heard me in the intro, man. We're going to be talking about the YSL Y line of fragrances. And YSL Y, this line is not the only line that's been guilty of giving us flanker after flanker, but boy, have they been aggressive. From the year starting in 2017 up until 2023, I think 2022 is the only year that they skipped where there was not a flanker of the original Y that was not released. Now, obviously, as you guys are going to see as I talk about these fragrances, with 6 fragrances from the same exact lineage coming out within a 7-year span, it is quite fair to assume that, in my humble opinion, all of these fragrances aren't necessary. But which ones are worth your money? That's what we're going to be getting into today, and I have my reasons for it. So if you want to hear my thoughts on the YSL Y line of fragrances, you know the routine. Keep it locked right here.
The Bowtie Fragrance Guy.
All right, guys, we're back. Thank you so much for keeping it locked in. We're going to go ahead and jump into this video. So first, starting out with the latest release from the YSL Y line of fragrances, YSL Y Eau de Parfum Intense. And here is the bottle. Now, when you look at the bottles from all of the fragrances from the YSL Y line of fragrances, this bottle is going to more closely resemble, of course, YSL Y Eau de Parfum and also YSL Y Live. Those bottles looks very similar to this bottle, just a little bit of a difference in the hue or the color of the bottle overall. But again, very, very similar to those 2 compared to the other fragrances from this collection of fragrances. And just to really cut to the chase, if you look at this fragrance compared to the Eau de Parfum, the original Eau de Parfum, which was released in 2018, I think that it was. This fragrance right here, they put in some lavender and patchouli into the DNA. They took out the apple, which I think is one of the most prominent notes that this line of fragrances is known for. They took out that amberwood, so that ambroxan kind of feel, the albinum, and that sweetness that you were getting from tonka bean. So that's the difference between these 2 fragrances. Now, when I started comparing these fragrances, I didn't really honestly compare the Eau de Parfum to the Eau de Parfum Intense. And I'm going to tell you how I decided to go about doing this to give you guys what I think are the 3 that you should get. I actually are going to kind of put this up because it's more of an intense version of a fragrance. I actually put this up head to head more so with the YSL Y Le Parfum. I did the EDP more so versus the EDT, and then the Live versus the Eau Fraiche. Now, out of all 6 fragrances in this line of fragrances, there are 3 notes that you're going to find throughout all 6 fragrances for the most part, and that's going to be geranium, sage, and bergamot. So geranium, sage, and bergamot, you're going to find pretty much those 3 notes in all 6 of these fragrances. Now, I don't want to confuse you too much, but basically if you look across the line of fragrances, with the exception of the Eau Fraiche, which I think is I would call that fragrance DNA the most different. I don't want to use the word unique, but it is the most different scent DNA or scent profile from the other 5. Honestly, to me, YSL Y Eau Fraiche kind of puts me in the mindset of like a Versace Eau Fraiche. Not Versace Eau Fraiche, Versace Pour Homme. It smells a little bit more like a Versace Pour Homme kind of scent, a little bit more, again, watered down version of these other fragrances. So there's a lot of notes that you'll find in the other fragrances from this line that they kind of extracted from the Eau Fraiche version of YSL Y. Now, again, the 2 fresher fragrances from YSL Y, I'm going to say is the Eau Fraiche and YSL Y Live. Okay, these fragrances give more of a fresher profile than the other fragrances. And again, if I had to choose between these 2, guys, I'm going to tell you this one I like a lot better. Honestly, to me, once I got YSL Y Live in my collection, it kind of made this one, to me, obsolete. You know, because again, this one smells, and I guess you could some people may look at that as a good thing. It smells the most different from the YSL Y lineage of fragrances. But if you're really a fan of YSL Y fragrances, then I think that this one is going to give you that fresh sensation, more of that fresh feel with this scent profile, while still maintaining more of the DNA of the original, if that makes sense. So the fresher fragrances of all 6, would say would be these 2, and of these 2, I would definitely go with the YSL Y Live over the Eau Fraiche. All right, guys. So in 2017, obviously the initial fragrance from the line, the YSL Y Eau de Toilette, came out in 2017, and I have still maintained that this is probably still my favorite of them all. So I kind of put this one up against the EDP, honestly, because if you have, and I'll talk about it in a few moments, because out of the ones that I would say you would keep, this one I think would kind of be rendered obsolete or not necessary, I would say. But I prefer this one, man. You still have in this one, of course, those aldehydes. You have that mint, and also when it dries down, that fir balsam and pineapple as well. This, to me, again, the original, sometimes it's just hard to beat the original. So I would have to kind of put these 2 head to head, the Eau de Toilette version and the EDP. This one, which came out in 2018. And I would say, honestly, of these 2, I would definitely keep the Eau de Toilette. It's still one of my favorites, if not my favorite from all 6. So out of these 2, let's get rid of the EDP. All right, guys. Now in 2021, the YSL Y lineage of fragrances came out with the YSL Y Le Parfum. I absolutely love this one, and I talked about it before. This is the one that rivals the EDT for being my favorite. They added some notes to this one that I really, really love, primarily that lavender. And of all the fragrances from the YSL Y lineage, these 2 have a little bit more, if you want to call it darker, a little bit more of a darker scent profile. So you have YSL Y Le Parfum, and you have the new EDP Intense, which again, both of these were kind of a more intense interpretation of the YSL Y DNA. Now, the difference between the 2 is this. They both added lavender, which is a touch that I really, really love. Adding the lavender to that, to the scent DNA of the original YSL Y. But where these 2 fragrances really differ is the YSL Y Le Parfum left some of the other notes that I really loved about the original into the scent DNA, while the Eau de Parfum Intense version of this fragrance took those notes out. And the notes that I'm referring to, guys, are the apple, the aldehydes, and the tonka bean. I feel like those 3 notes are 3 of the main notes that really made the original EDT what it was. And when I think about a more richer, deeper interpretation of that scent DNA, if I had to go with these 2, which of course were made to be a little bit more darker kind of scent profiles, I really feel like the Le Parfum version is a better version of the original, a deeper, little bit denser version of the original versus the Eau de Parfum Intense. So with that being said, guys, I think the 3, if I were to say the 3 that I would keep out of these 6 fragrances, would be this one, of course, which is the Le Parfum version. The fresher version, the YSL Y Live. And of course, the originator, the original YSL Y Eau de Toilette. Now, obviously, guys, I'm just letting you know, I'm not saying that the YSL Y Eau de Parfum Intense doesn't smell good. Obviously, it smells very reminiscent to a combination of a lot of these other flankers, and that's the whole thing about it. They just all start to smell in some way, shape, and form kind of similar. If it's not similar to the one before, it's similar to the other one, if that makes sense. But of the 6, honestly, those would be the 3 best, in my humble opinion, that I would choose. Although at the end of the day, you could really get away with just one of these, and honestly, you would be perfectly fine. So at the end of the day, guys, would I recommend you buying the new YSL Y EDP Intense? Well, my answer to that is this. It smells good. So if you don't have a lot of the other fragrances from this line, especially if you don't have any, definitely, it smells great. I mean, there's nothing, none of these fragrances on this, this list that I talked about today, none of these flankers smell bad at all by any stretch of the imagination. Again, it's just when there's so many, they start to become redundant. And that's my only issue with it. So if you don't have any, or if you maybe have maybe one, I would say, then yeah, definitely, it's a fragrance that I think is worth adding to the collection. But if you have 1 or 2 of these already, I don't think it's something that's really necessary. But those are just my thoughts, of course. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments section. As always, I sincerely appreciate you guys' time and attention to these videos. I know you don't have to watch, but you do. And I sincerely appreciate that. Now, don't forget to make sure you take a few moments to go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you are sharing these videos out to some other folks out there that you think could use this information or find it entertaining. Because I'm your guy, Darian. I'm the Bowtie Fragrance Guy. I love to look good, and of course, I love to smell amazing. So until next time, guys, keep looking good, keep smelling even better. I'll catch you on the flip side.